Hang on. That's the reason why this stream is called Wake Up With Me. I am fucking tired. Oh my god. I pretty much have been sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a night for like weeks. And then like about every 10 days, I end up like just crashing through the bed. So I got great sleep last night, but I'm still like kind of getting my bearings and waking up. So no poker yesterday. Just ended up, doing a lot of editing and things like that. So, but looking to play poker today. Not sure though. Want to get to the gym, and I do want to finish a new project. I started editing again, and I made another thing, and I think I can finish it today. But we'll see. But been playing too much good poker to take a break. All right, let's get into this. This is the Jonathan Little Poker Coaching Quizzes. Let's make sure I have the sound on. All right, let's check it out.
Here we have the 10 of clubs, 10 of diamonds in the small blind, facing a raise and a 3-bet early in a $5,000 buy-in online tournament. Should we fold, call, re-raise to 7,200, or re-raise to 10,600?
I think this isn't great. The blind level is 20-40, so our opponents have about 40. The effective stack is like, what is that? 40K, 4K is 10, so like 100 plus. So it's like 115 blinds or something like that. The effective stack. So I don't really want to get it in here, obviously, with 10s, but it kind of sucks when you're out of position. That being said, it's a bigger buy-in tournament, so people do a lot of, funky things that might not get exploited because of what they do. So I think the move here is to just flat and kind of see what develops. I think this is one where, we have the chips to spare, right? But I think we don't want to reopening the betting all the time, because a standard 3-bet would be about 10-6 because we're out of position in multi-way players. But that's kind of how I can figure out if I want to bet it or not. I figure out what the standard should be, because it would be this guy's 28, my 28 is 56, then 64 plus this guy's is 7,000 plus the call. So 9,800 would be like a pot size bet. Backing it off a little, I guess, is okay, because that's a really big number. Or I'm sorry, 9,800 is, and then we're out of position, so you add a blind. So this is right about that, but it was backed off a little bit from a pot plus a blind. So I think we just call here. I think the hand's way too good to fold, and I don't like re-raising small, because I think that kind of invites a move from the in the position player who 3-bet. Not like this is that small, but I think I'm talking about this way too much. I'm just waking up. This is a call all day.
This is a pretty nasty spot, but I think it's actually just a pretty easy fold.
It's funny because I wanted to fold. And I didn't say it because I'm like, that's the wrong move. But I kind of wanted to fold.
Pocket tens is a hand that's probably in okay shape, but if we re-raise, and anybody wants to stick around, it's no longer in good shape. So re-raising is not especially attractive.
Yeah, that's true.
We also don't want to call, because if we call, we're going to be out of position. So unless we get a set, we're going to be pretty unhappy. And also, if we get re-raised pre-flop by villain 8 here, we're also going to be pretty unhappy. So really, not a lot of good is going to come from playing this hand, I don't think. So I think we just need to get out of the way. Just fold. Move on with your life. I know that may seem not too exciting, but I think folds like this are folds that a lot of more recreational players do not make. If I had pocket jacks here, I would also fold. If I had ace king, though, I would definitely put in a re-raise, because ace king essentially has the best blockers. So this is a spot where with ace king, I think we can realistically re-raise. Aces, kings, queens, I think we can re-raise. But I really don't have a calling range here. And you know that may be the tiniest bit of a leak, but in a tournament, I'm okay sidestepping spots that are like very high variance where we don't really have much of an edge.
which is what you want to do in tournaments. I mean, I get that. That makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of biased, I think, at this point because for the past, like, probably like 2 months, I have worked so hard on my small blind 3-betting range and aggression that I think I couldn't see myself folding a decent, not great hand in the small blind. Now, as I'm saying that though, I do remember folding pocket jacks in the small blind cold for a very similar situation about 3 days ago, and it was early in the tournament. Like there was no reason not to. So this is why we do these hands, man. Wake up the brain. I don't know who the next coach is. Let's just jump to it.
In this hand, you're in a $15 buy-in, 50,000 guaranteed with ace-7 of clubs in the small blind. The cutoff is open. The cutoff is playing 13% of the hands and raising 6% of the time. You have 173,903 chips. Blinds are 2,000, 4,000 with an ante of 500. Pre-flop, do you want to fold, call, raise to 20,000, or raise to 32,000?
This is a very nitty player in the button, right? I think he said 13-6. I feel like I'm gonna. Well, it's kind of close. I feel like versus a super nit raising on the button, it's not like he's a super nit, but 13-6 is not high. So he's on the tighter side. That being said, those players typically don't fold pre-flop. They kind of want to see a flop. So maybe the move here is just to call, but I think my standard is to 3x this. If it was offsuit, I would definitely 3x it. Just because my hand's not strong enough to fade. So, I don't know this guy's c-bet frequency. Maybe this is just a call. Like I said, I'm not awake yet. So, you know what? I'm going to go with call. I think because it's suited, I'm going to call it.
We're going to make it 20,000 here. At the end of the quiz,
Yeah, that was my first choice.
I'll discuss why we should do each decision. So we make it 20,000 and chips 9, 6, 7 calls. The flop comes ace, queen, queen. 48,500 in the pot. Here, do you want to check? Do you want to bet 12,125? Do you want to bet 24,250? Or do you want to bet 36,375?
Matt is such a great coach that I often level myself on his quizzes. But I check here because I don't want to scare off a hand that I can beat, and I don't want to bet into a hand that I don't beat. So I check.
We check here, and this player bets 24,250. Here, would you like to fold, call, raise to 62,500, or move all in?
God damn it. These are the ones where he fucking drives me crazy. Because he puts move all in up there, and it's like the guy has such great thoughts on overbet jamming. And here's the reality of this spot. If I overbet jam, this guy can't call me with anything other than a queen. I mean, it's a $15 buy-in. The player's nitty. He's going to make bad moves. It's just so bad, man. Well, no, actually, the guy can talk himself into calling me because it can look like I have diamonds. I guess I can have the king, queen of diamonds, and I've played this way, 3-betting pre-flop, or king, jack of diamonds, sorry. God damn it. But I don't want to... And it's a half-pot bet, and the problem with a half-pot bet is that some players are just doing that to make a bad bluff, and sometimes they're doing it with value. Hey, what's up, KB? How you doing, my man? God, like, I am so brain dead right now. I can't even think. I'm so glad we're doing quizzes because I am not awake. Killing Bird, if you guys don't know him, if anybody else is here, I haven't checked the chat log. Look, Killing Bird, absolute legend on Twitch. This might just be a fold. Like, I know I set up the 3-bet, but now this guy's betting into me. If I call, he's got a pot-sized bet behind. He's just going to jam, right? Damn it. I'm going to say I'm mostly wrong here because Matt's quizzes are very complex, and I pick up a lot of moves from his quizzes, and I'll probably pick up one here, but I think since we 3-bet pre-flop, we're just called, and then the flop came down with an ace on it, I think our hand might be too good to fold, but I'm going to in this scenario because this bet is just... Yeah, but it's a bullshit bet. It's a half-pot bet. I'm calling.
We call.
All right.
And the turn is the 9 of diamonds. Here, would you like to check? Would you like to bet 24,250? Would you like to bet 48,500? Or would you like to move all in?
Matt's going to say this is one of those excellent spots to move all in and really screw up your opponent when they call you with pocket kings here. I think the most likely hand that we beat is a good pair that's lower than aces. I'm not that worried about the flush. That being said, for all those reasons, I'm going to check. Because I should have it either locked or I'm crushed.
We check, and this player checks behind. The river is the king of clubs here. Would you like to check? Would you like to bet 24,250? Would you like to bet 48,500? Or would you like to move all in?
This is a tough one. Because the king is particularly bad. Because my general read in this scenario is a hand like, no joke, is a hand like pocket kings. Now, let's take the monster out from under the bed and realize that the player bet the flop and checked the turn. Usually players have to be either very weak or very strong for that, and a pair of kings without the king of diamonds is very weak. I think this is one where we may want to take the free shot at getting the opponent off of the chop. Like he could have ace-jack, right? But my read is more so that we have the best hand. So for that reason, I think the player's going to make an attempt to steal, and he's going to bet. I wonder if jamming is good to fold the chop. Right, yeah. But here's the thing. I've recently integrated a new move where try to get him to fold a chop. Yeah, I know what you meant. I've recently integrated a new move into my play where in situations like this where I should conceivably have the best hand, I bet small and entice a bluff. Because my true read on this situation is he doesn't have an ace. And he doesn't have a flush. I think it's a rare instance where he actually has us beat. Like he could have something like a king, you know? Or he can have like two kings. But I think other than that, I don't think we're beat here that frequently. That being said, we could be getting a chop. So I think that also breeds for betting small. So if we bet 24,250, we're going to entice a lot of jams. And I think then it's very proper for us to call off because somebody's going to show us a hand like, the king of diamonds, offsuit 10 or jack or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I think we goat the bluff here. I'm very keen on that move right now. So I may be overusing it, but it hasn't failed me yet. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. Now, granted, jamming is awesome, but it's also kind of surface level. So I'm going to go ahead and bet small.
Let's break this entire hand down. So let's go to pre-flop. Pre-flop, if you just said, hey, this guy is super tight, he's raising a very small percentage of hands, I'm just going to fold here. I think that's fine. Call is fine as well. He's probably never going to double barrel the ace high board as a bluff, so
right.
It's fairly easy to play versus a nit. When they double barrel the ace high board, they tend to have it. When they don't, they don't. Now, in this case, we make it 20,000. I did that because the more I'm playing flops, turns, and rivers, the more opportunities I see, and it's really fun to give you guys these.
He does this thing where he loves to put himself in difficult situations, and the theory behind it is if you're more often in difficult situations proportionally than the field, you'll navigate them better. This guy's voice totally reminds me of Assassinato. Yeah, right? This is wait a minute, is this Assassinato or Matt Affleck? Oh, it's Assassinato. Yeah, it is him, yeah. I get their voices confused, even though they're not really that close. They kind of have the same theory stuff, but yeah, it is Assassinato. That's funny. You got me there for a second. I was thinking Matt Affleck. It's too early. So he likes to put himself in difficult situations a lot, and it's really awesome, and I've been doing it a lot more lately. And the theory is that you do better in difficult situations if you're in them more. So it makes sense. That being said, you end up with these fucking brain teasers, man, that the first few times you see them, you go, what the fuck did I do to myself? But then from there, you kind of navigate them better. So I do love the way he plays.
In these hands, especially the $15 tournaments showing you places where you can bluff. The other thing is, even though this person's nitty, there's two spots people know they have to raise a lot from, and that's the button and the cutoff. So you would assume that if he is opening anywhere a little wider, it's very likely to be the cutoff. Now, when he does open the cutoff, I assume if he's opening a wider range, he does not know how to defend that range. Typically, tighter players don't play a lot of hands because they feel very uncomfortable playing a lot of hands. I can tell you this as a complete nit. When I started, I was very uncomfortable playing anything that was outside of my ace-king.
Me too. I used to really have problems with king-queen. King-queen was my fucking nemesis for the longest time. I didn't know what to do with it. Didn't actually think it was him, but someone who kind of sounded like him. Yeah, this mic on here isn't great. Whatever mic he uses to do these the hand quizzes to make them isn't great, so it doesn't really sound that much like him, because when he makes his nice YouTube videos or other stuff on the site, his voice has that more whole buttery sound. So I think he's using a laptop or something. But yeah, I do that too. I get him confused.
Ace, queen, tens, jacks, queens, kings, aces. I played like that for years. Now, for that reason, I'm going to put pressure on him here. I'm not making it 32,000 because I actually want him to call. I think even though I'm out of position here, it's going to be fairly easy to know what he's doing. And I feel that we're going to manipulate things a little bit more here. And one of the ways we're going to do that here is on this ace, queen, queen board. It's a very common line here for me to check call with an ace.
Yeah.
And to check raise with a queen. And you won't see a lot of experienced players. A lot of experienced players will just check back here because if you really have nothing and you're done with it, they know if they check back this flop, they can look like they're pot controlling with an ace. And then, okay, if you're really going to give up, you're probably going to check on the turn as well. And then they can just bet, pick up the pot on the flop. Now, if you're uncomfortable with flop play, you see the green light, you take the shot. So he takes the shot. And we check to allow...
I'm gonna say here, the thing that was the main tip-off was the half-pot bet. I think if you have a good ace here, ace, king, ace, jack, I think you bet a third of the pot or you bet large, meaning 75% pot. These half-pot bets, man, like sometimes they work good to work your stack in, but after you make this bet, you have a 1-to-1 stack-to-pot ratio. You only really have one bet left. You know what I mean? So I think people usually do this where they go, well, I don't want to bet standard because I really want to try to push them off an ace, so I'm going to bet more. You don't want to try to push people off an ace, man. That's just not a... If you feel like the other guy has top pair here, your goal should not be to get him to fold an ace because it's just not going to happen often enough for it to be a profitable move. It's just not. So I really hate this bet, and that's absolutely why I called it, is because I kind of figured it out, even though I'm half brain dead right now.
Him to bluff with the expectation he's probably not going to bet the turn with a bluff again. And also, stack size wise, he has a big problem, which is if he wants to do anything on the turn as a bluff, it's all of his chips. So it's just, with nittier players, it's just never going to happen. So
Right.
This is how you get a lot of bluffs to come off here. Now, we call, and the turn is the 9 of diamonds. Not a terrific card, but we check, and he checks behind. Now, when he checks, this is a lesson that we've discussed a lot in our quizzes. When tight players check, they're telling you what they have. If he had a flush here, most of the time you would bet it trying to get value. If he had a queen, he'd be very worried about a fourth diamond coming off. Almost assuredly, this is nothing, or this is an ace. It is most likely...
All right, then I changed my river play. My river play is to jam the river, because he's most likely got ace-jack with this line of thinking. Although, I don't mind inducing the bluff. I think it's fine. I think we're inducing a bluff versus a chop, which I guess is a free bluff, so yeah. And a tight player is not going to do that, so I think my best move here is to just jam, and then we can get him off an ace, because now the board is more dynamic.
If it if it's anything, it's an ace. Okay? So he checks. In the river comes the king. Now, what should we do at this juncture? This is a great hand reading exercise. So the best hand he can have is an ace. Okay? He could have checked back Jack 10. That's the one. Okay?
Didn't 4-bet pre-flop or tight players will do that with ace king, so I'm not really worried about the ace king. I just don't think it's in the realm. He's right, the Jack 10 is there, but meh.
I still think there's a good chance he shoves that some percentage of the time on the turn, just because the hell with it. You're giving him that green light. But maybe he probably checks it back. So Jack 10 here is a percentage of his range, right? But a lot of his range here is ace jack, ace 10. Ace 9 would probably... he checks that back on the turn because he has aces and queens with a 9 kicker. Ace 8 suited, ace 7 suited, ace 6 suited, ace 5 suited, ace 4 suited, ace 3 suited, ace 2 suited. So most of the time, both of you have aces and queens with a king kicker. Or he's got nothing. And on occasion, he's got Jack 10. Although with a diamond, I think the more I think of it, he probably... I don't know.
I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. I'm stuck on that one. Because a lot of times if you put... When they get uncomfortable, they do wild things, especially in $15 tournaments. So
yeah, so on the tournament with Jack 10, the guy's going to go, well, the dude checked and check called twice. Even a nitty player will fucking blast off with Jack 10. Like, if he had jammed the turn, I'm snap calling. I'm absolutely snap calling because, that's where they go, oh, I have a semi-bluffed. And they just, they just kind of freak out, especially if they have, like, Jack 10 with, like, the Jack of diamonds. Like, it's going to happen all day long on the turn. So, yeah, I it's kind of weird because I don't think the Jack 10 checks back much. But if the player is just like Dan Harrington levels of snug, then he's going to check the turn with the Jack 10.
I think there's still some of that. And pot controlling is just, as a recovering nit myself, I can tell you pot controlling is what I was addicted to. If I had a pair, I had to get it to showdown. So... And I would randomly go off sometimes when I was in, because I thought that's what professional players were supposed to do. Like
I did that too. I did that too. Like I played too snugly for a good couple years, my first part of my poker career. But you could do that back in 04, 05.
Draw. Okay, cool. I should bet it. So it's tough to say, but I don't think you're running into that many Jack 10s. And I think most of the time you're running into...
Plus, a nitty player is not going to have Jack 10 here on the button opening because, like I said, they're not going to be comfortable opening those hands. They're not going to be comfortable calling a 3-bet. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're really going to have to be on the verge of their poker existential crisis where they go, what I'm doing is wrong. Oh, my God. And, like, it's hard to... It happens to every great poker player or even good poker player who was a winning player, like just barely winning. One day you're in the casino or you're playing online and all of a sudden you have this epiphany of a next level move. And these happen throughout your learning. So you learn this thing that's like later in your career, you're going to be like, ooh, that's a really cool thing I can do. And that'll work a lot. And that's awesome. And good for me for figuring it out. But the first time you figure one of those out, you kind of go, oh my God, I've been doing it wrong. I'm not as good as I thought I was. Holy shit. And like you kind of have this real freak out in your head of, if I'm doing this wrong, how many other things am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? Like, so unless he's on that precipice of his existential crisis in poker where he becomes an excellent player, I don't think he has Jack 10 here a lot with those stats. You know what I'm saying? Because we'd have to like kind of witness the moment where he was trying to make himself play more hands. And, it's a very small window of time. It's almost as small as being a losing player turning into a winning player. Like people tell you that, like, I remember going to a tournament with Courtney years ago. It was at the Golden Nugget and I did very well. And when we were there, before we went, she goes, what can I expect? And she had never seen a live poker tournament, right? And I said, well, you know, you're going to see a lot of this and a lot of that, and there's going to be a lot of because it is what it is, and it's a big guarantee, and it's a small buy-in. It was like a $150 buy-in with like a 500K guarantee. It was huge. And this was back in like, Jesus. This might have been back in like 2013. So I wasn't streaming on Twitch yet, whatever that was. You know, I mean, I know I took a 4-year break in 2016, but I think it was right before I started streaming on Twitch. So probably 2013, somewhere in there. So she asked me, what can I expect? And I told her, and, you know, she made sure to bring plenty of snacks and, you know, things like that, because she really wanted to watch when I played a live tournament, because I didn't do it very much. And I knew I was going to do well. And it was a one-day event, so, you know, it was going to be a 15, 16-hour day. But one of the things that I told her is, you're going to see a lot of poker widows, which are the women who love the men who play poker poorly. These are the women who suffer hugely. You see this a lot in playing in pool too. One of my best friends, Rob Melrose, his wife Kathy was a pool widow because he was an excellent player, but he just gambled too much, and he had all the talent in the world, but he kind of made the mistakes, and I don't know where they are now, man. But it was a rough life for Kathy. But so, and I said, when you meet these poker widows, don't sit with them because you'll get depressed, and they're going to bum you out. And the number one thing they're going to say when you ask them, how's their husband doing? They're going to say, he's about a break-even player. And the husband would say that too. I'm about a break-even player. You know, I don't take it too seriously, whatever. That is the biggest lie in poker, I think. A break-even player. You either are a loser or you're a winner, statistically. And the way it works is you lose for a very long time. Then you start saying, I'm a break-even player for way too long. And then when you finally put in some work, you become a winner. The amount of time a player is actually break-even, if the poker timeline is a mile of their life, is about, I don't know, 300 feet. Actually, it's less than that. It's probably about 100 feet. Choo-chee. No barking. No barking. No bark. No. You shush. Let's finish the hand here. That's just my personal philosophy on the poker epiphany.
The pot controlled aces, and you both have aces and queens with a king kicker here. He doesn't have ace king. He would have 4-bet pre-flop. He doesn't have king queen. He would have fired again on the turn. The vast majority of his range is hands you're chopping with, so you should just shove.
There it is.
And he did go ahead and fold. He took some time, a considerable amount of time, because some people realize here you're calling for half the pot, so you have to be right, like, always.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be right a very large percentage of the time, and it's also very possible I just flopped the joint and was letting him take a shot at it, and he didn't do so, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. It's possible I check called with a flush, didn't get action on the turn, and decided to take matters into my own hands. His best hand is a straight, which I think is extremely unlikely, and most likely an ace that he's trying to get to showdown, which we don't need to give him that. We deserve all that money ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's the simple variant. I've been kind of too hooked on the make the other guy bluff thing, but this is a spot where that's not good, I guess, because he is going to have an ace with us a lot, and then it's just a chop. So when we bet small or check, he's either just going to call or he's going to check back. He's never going to bluff. He's not that kind of player. So I kind of overanalyzed it. But, you know, that's why it's a wake up with me stream, man. All right, next one, and I'll try not to talk so much.
All right, in this hand we have a 6 offsuit here in the big blind. It's going to fold with a button. It has about 24 big blinds. They're going to min-raise. We have a 6 offsuit. So we big blinds ourselves. Should we fold, call, re-raise to 2,800, or go all in?
So this is, sorry, the sound's a little low on this, guys. They kind of jump around. I'll try to fix the level. Hang on. All right, that's all right. Yeah, it's okay. So player min opens. What is it? We have 6, almost 28 big blinds. I didn't hear the whole thing. I don't know the guy's stats. If I had like 8,000, I think I would just jam. to get the player off of it, and the hand is kind of crap. Although if we make it 2,800, we kind of accomplish the same thing because we kind of commit his stacks. So, all right, I'm going to try to take the less apish approach and raise here.
I think calling is pretty clearly the best option here. I think
I'm overthinking these today.
you can make the case that 3-betting to 2,800 as a bluff to 3-bet fold is a reasonable option. I don't like shoving here with ace-6. Ace-6 is really the worst ace we can have. We'd rather have ace-deuce, ace-3, ace-4, or ace-5
Yeah.
with the ability to make a straight. If I had ace-5 offsuit, I'd probably go all in here. And if I had like ace-9 or ace-10 offsuit, I'd probably go all in. But these middling aces, I think we just want to call with it, these stack depths. At 20 big blinds, we're going to shove a lot of offsuit aces, but even ace-6 off, we probably just want to call with, again, being the worst ace. We want to have some aces in our calling range to protect us on ace-high boards. So this hand just fits pretty clearly here in our calling range. People just shove or 3-bet too linearly here. We actually want to be pretty polarized here with how we shove from the big blind to make sure we get dominated hands to fold. We want to keep it like, for example, here people shove with king queen all the time, but it's actually better to call because they're never calling us with king jack, and we want to keep in all those king x hands that we dominate.
All right.
So flop comes ace king queen. Not going to ask here if we should lead here. I think you guys, after doing these quizzes, should know we're never going to have a leading range on this type of a board from the big blind. And we face this third pot, quarter pot type bet here. Should we fold, call, raise to 1,500, or raise to 2,000?
I don't see much value in raising because if we're beat, we're just throwing money away. I think if he's bluffing, we're going to allow him to keep bluffing, and we do have the ace, and he's on the button. So, we're likely going to have the best hands. Sometimes we share the ace, but I don't worry about that much. I've found that it's silly to worry about that as much as people give a shit about it. So I'm just going to call and allow him to keep bluffing.
So facing the small bet, we have folding is clearly not an option. We have an interesting decision between raising and calling. I think both options are very, very viable. If we're going to raise, I like raising to the larger size, 2,000. And the reason is we're going to be much more polarized here. We're not really raising a hand like king x or queen x here. We're really raising like ace x and bluffs. Our bluffs are going to come from hands like jack x and 10x with a backdoor flush draw. So like jack 7 of diamonds, for example, will get raised sometimes. Jack 5, 10, 8. Those type of hands are going to be where our raises going to come from. If you look for value, we should actually be raising a lot of our ace x here. This is a flop that the in-position player should be betting very, very aggressively. We have we connect with this board. We're going to have a lot of king x, queen x, but we rejam. We 3-bet a lot of our better ace x. We don't have queens, kings, or aces. We don't have ace king. They should be pretty aggressive on this board, and therefore they're going to bet it a lot, and that means they're going to bet hands like king x and even some queen x hands. So we should check raise a lot of our ace x for value. If you look at a solver here, this is like a 50-50 mix between raising to 2,000 and just calling. But I like calling. And the reason I like calling is because when we raise, our opponent is never supposed to fold a king or a queen that has a backdoor draw. And I think our opponents will just overfold king x and queen x when we check raise. So I actually like check raising more as a bluff and a little less for value here.
Yeah.
But both are fine, and you can kind of use your opponent to judge whether you think they will be sticky enough to call, which they should be sticky, or if you think they're just going to overfold, then we should just call. It doesn't make sense to check raise a hand like this for value then. I went for a call this time. I think people are just going to, population is going to overfold to our check raise here, so I'm actually going to be exploitively bluffing more and then not calling more with hands like this. Deuce of clubs, again, we're never going to lead here, and we face a 60% bet on the turn. Should we fold, call, raise to 4,500, or go all in?
I think this is one where we are up against somebody who's going to 3-barrel. So there's some merit in going all in here and shutting down a hand like, King Jack or something like that. But then again, he's only got, the Jack or the 10 to beat us. There's a world in which we're up against King Queen and he takes this line, but not commonly. And because we have an ace, it's not easy for them to have an ace king, ace queen, ace jack, things like that. Honestly, I don't think ace jack bets here again. So considering the fact that there's only really monsters that keep going that we're worried about, I think we just call, and we expect to check call the river jam.
So we face this 55-ish% pot bet here. I don't think we have much of a decision with ace x. Remember what happens pre-flop, all right? We don't have queens, kings, aces, ace king, ace queen. We'll have some king queen. And then on the flop, like, we don't get to fold any aces, we don't get to fold any kings, we don't get to fold any queens. So, like, we need to defend pretty wide here on the turn. Our opponent should be playing pretty aggressive against our capped range. And in that context, I don't think we ever get to fold an ace here. I think it's just a crystal clear call. I don't think we want to raise. We're not bluff catching. There should be some, like, the imposition player should be betting some king jack, king 10, maybe even king 9 here. I think those are all reasonable bets here. They should be betting worse aces that currently we beat, like ace 5, ace 4, ace 3. We might chop with by the river, but nothing special here. I think this is a pretty easy spot. 4 clubs on the river. Again, not going to ask. We're just checking. We're never leading into a polarized range. And our opponent shoves. Should we fold or call?
Simple call, I think. I think we've set this up. I don't think we fold now.
So we get here to the river, and it's important to think of this in terms of a math problem.
Yeah, here's the thing. The way he bet, a third, 2/3, jam. He made it geometric betting, and you do that with 3 barrels a lot. And players should do it when they have a good hand here, but typically when they have good hands here, they don't do that as much. You can do it if you have like a ton of chips. Like if you both started out with, instead of whatever this was, like 20 big blinds, if you had like 40 big blinds, then you can take this similar line with a value hand. But when you see this bet, this is the standard bet, bet sizing. So to me, this is just a snap call, and we're going to get showed king 10, queen 10, queen jack, hands like that all the time that didn't improve, that have set up a 3 barrel.
Our opponent's betting 6,000 into 7,500. Let's make the math really simple. If our opponent bet 7,500 here, they would be betting 7,500 to win 15,000. So we would need to continue with 50% of our range. Now here they're betting a little bit less, so therefore we need to continue with more, probably like 60% of our range here. We can do the math here. Let me pull up a calculator to show you guys. So our opponent is betting 60/35 divided by 13,525, which is the total pot up here. And if we hit enter, so 44%, that's our fold percentage. So that means we need to call 56% of our range here. Now, if you think about on the turn, we're calling hands like king jack, king 10, queen jack, queen 10. We're going to call some king x, some queen x hands that, have kickers that don't block their bluffs. Maybe we call like a king 5 type of hand. Sometimes here we have to call a lot. And what I'm getting at here is that if we have to call 55% of our range, that doesn't really include folding any aces here. I would call with ace x here. In theory here, we should be calling, we have to call with some non-ace x here, hands here.
What's up,
we have
Vice?
to call some king x here because we don't have enough aces. We don't have enough 2 pairs, and our opponent gets the value bet pretty thin here. So, yes, I think this is a clear call. The hands that are really close are hands like king 5 and king 6, king jack, king 10.
Oops.
Those hands are like 0 EV calls.
Accidental host. Sorry,
And
guys.
I'd probably fold those hands because our opponents aren't bluffing enough. But
I was trying to
with
put in
ace
emojis
X,
to say hi to
you
Vice.
just don't get a fold very much. It's worth a lot more EV than 0. And so I would just click the call button here. This is why we flat pre-flop, so we have some protection with ace X. We have some easy call downs. And I think this is a pretty easy call. Our opponent shows up with the 10-3 of diamonds, which I actually think is a pretty good bluff here.
It is.
Pretty well played, I think, actually, by him. This is probably his jack X and 10X hands are some of his better bluffs. And so, yeah.
His jack X and 10X are better bluffs because of the fact that he does have a gut shot, but that's not really it. He unblocks all the weak hands that he can get to fold. So, hands that are not really happy about calling this river, inexperienced players. But personally, I don't really worry about it that much. Yeah, I think that one's pretty easy. But I think if you've never done it and you don't 3 barrel a lot, like I 3 barrel in a day of play where I'm going to get in 1,000 hands, I'm probably going to end up doing it 40 or 50 times. Just going bet, bet, bet. And usually I expect a success ratio of about 85%, maybe 80, somewhere in there. So if you do that all the time, you see this and you know what the player is doing, so it's kind of easy to recognize. I'm going to do one more here. I'm all up to current. Let's find a good one. Come on. But yeah, I think this is one that just makes an easy call. Is that Lexi? I can't really see the picture. It's somebody, some female, but Lexi Gavin. Looks like a cash game, 500. She's playing 2-5 with ace jack off. All right, let's do that.
Hey guys, Lexi Gavin here, and today I'm going to go over a hand that I played. This is a 2-5 no limit cash session.
A little loud, Lex.
So let's jump right into the action here. So it folds to the hijack, who raises to $15. Folds around to us in the big blind. What would you do with ace jack off? Would you fold, call, or raise to 55?
You can make arguments for both sides. Personally, I'm very aggressive playing cash game, and it's 8-handed, so the hijack is, a little looser. But honestly, I like the 3-bet.
So I think this is a good spot for a flat. You can raise sometimes.
This is why I like watching her hands, because you get a very different perspective, female perspective. And I'm just answering what I would do, but if you ask me what do you think she's going to say, I think I would have said call.
I would raise, I'm more inclined to raise versus a cutoff or button open for value with this hand. Hijack and low jack, it's close. If the hijack was opening a ton of hands, I would say go ahead and raise this for value. But I think that this plays fine as a flat from the big blind. You are kind of towards the top of your range and your hand is a little disguised.
So when I'm towards the top of my range, I don't like to really trap, and I like to be near the very tip top of it. So for me, I like to have ace-queen suited. Honestly, I'm more likely to call ace-king here than I am ace-jack. I'm way more likely to 3-bet ace-jack out of position here versus one player than I am ace-king, because we're just open up to so many more moves. But when we go 3-bet, then we're polarized. Then we can steal pots, where we can have a lot of overpairs, which this is one of those boards.
So the flop is 10-6-4 rainbow. We check. Hijack continuation bet 16. What would we do here? Would you fold, call, or raise to $48?
It's interesting. There is a definite merit in check raising here. Now I'm kind of leveling myself. Because I don't know what her perspective is. Some of the coaches, you have to remember, they do the hand quizzes and they kind of retroactively analyze them and then post them. I like the people who like Matt Affleck, like Faraz Jaka, like Jonathan Little, where they'll play a hand and they'll say, what's the best move? Then you answer, you get the full marks for it, and then they say, I did this and this was a mistake, and then they move on with the hand from there. I think Lexi and pretty much every other coach kind of retroactively says that they were perfect in this hand. So I think it is a borderline kind of thing. I would have to know more about the player to get froggy and check raise here. So I'm just going to go ahead and call and maybe make a turn move. I like turn moves better anyway. I think they're more effective.
So I think that this is a board where we should be floating his c-bet. And what I mean by that is just calling his c-bet with our overcard equity. We have 6 outs to hit top pair. That would likely be good in a lot of scenarios. So 6 times 4 is 24% equity on the flop we have here. And I think that this is a board that the hijack is going to continuation bet with his entire range. I think that his value hands are going to continue here. And I also think that a lot of his air and bluffs are going to continue here. So I do like calling, and the other reason I like calling is because we can have all of, the 2-pair combos that he can't have here. So we would, maybe be flatting the big blind with 10-6 suited, 6-4 suited, hands like that. And if the turn was a 3 or an 8, I think that we could check raise a lot of these turns because we can have 5-7 and he doesn't have too many 5-7s. So... and then, like I said,
This is my same feeling on calling with the ace king or ace queen pre-flop. This is just the bottom of the top of my range is why I like the 3-bet, but what she's saying is exactly the way I feel about opportunities for bluffs that don't present themselves if you 3-bet. So any 5, any 8, honestly 9s too. A 9 can do it because you're double gutted with 7, 8. Obviously Jack is good for us. Kings and queens really not great for us, but we don't exactly have to fold. Even cards as low as deuces and 3s make straights. So, and all the rando 2 pairs and sets. So we have the world open to us, and our opponent is kind of 1 pair at this point at best, unless they flopped a set, which I don't think they're betting a set of 10s even because it's so board locked. So it'd have to be 6s or 4s. So yeah. I think I agree.
Could just call and hit our top pair on the turn. So here we decide to float, and the turn is the 8 of spades. So we check, and he bets 45. So what do? Do you fold, call, or raise to 120?
Well, 5-7 exactly, 8-6, all those ones. She said 120, but she has the option here for 175. If I'm going to check raise this, I'm going to go about 3x and change. So what is that, 135? So maybe 140. So I guess 175 is close enough. Although the quiz is bugged. So I like the check raise here and then jam rivers when called. Obviously that's what we're doing. But I think you just win it a lot here on the turn.
Okay, so I think that this is close. I think a fold would be completely fine here. You can just give up the hand and that's it. You didn't really lose too much in this pot. But I also think that raising is kind of a really good option here. Like I said, the reason for this is because we can represent 5-7. So, our call on the turn, if we didn't hit a pair, I would say that a 3 or an 8, we can kind of get, kind of dirty with and put in a raise here.
3 or an 8 more so than a 5, because if we had 7-8 on this flop, we would have just called. And a 5 comes and we make the straight, or a 9 comes, we make the straight. But the thing is, they're double gutters. Even though it's the same amount of outs as an open ender, it's harder for players to see it. So when you have 5-7 here, they're going to spot it a lot quicker, than if you had 7-9. You know what I'm saying? So that's why the check raise works good as a bluff, because it makes sense to the opponent that we would have it. Plus, we're going to have a lot of 10-8s. We're going to have a lot of 6-8s. Things that this card was really good for. So, yeah, the check raise bluff here works great because of the specific board texture in our action.
I think that we can also represent a lot of 2-pair combos here. So, like 10-8 suited, 6-8 suited, possibly even 8-4 suited if we're over defending our big blind. And like I said, that 5-7, even 7-9, I think 7-9 of clubs, diamonds, or hearts would float a c-bet here. So I think because we can represent all of these stronger hands, we can certainly put in a raise here, and we could also have the sets, we could have flatted 10s, 6s, and 4s from the on the flop, and just slow played, and now are check raising the turn. We could also represent a set of 8s. So we have so many value hands that we can represent, and I think that applying pressure here is going to get him, put him in a difficult spot to fold a hand like King 10, Queen 10, even pocket jacks would have trouble folding. I like that we block jacks and aces, so that's also good. That's also another reason why this is a good spot to put in the check raise. So we raise to 175, and if you are going to raise, you have to choose a large sizing. I could even see going a little bit bigger here just to really get him to fold those,
Okay, so found a little spot where I might have been off, over calculating the raise. I tend to counteract that. Like I was saying like make it like 140 or whatever because it's like 3x plus a little. But I tend to over calculate the exact amount the person would fold. You can go way over that in a live cash game. It doesn't matter. Like it starts to look like bullshit a lot sooner online. But in a live cash game, I think my standard move, so I don't make that mistake, is just to round up his bet to the next incremental. So 50, like if he had bet 55, I would make it 75 and then 3x that. But since he's at 45, I'll go to 50, 3x that, and then add a unit. So that's 175. So there you go.
Pair type hands. Even a hand like pocket nines would probably fold to a raise here. So he folded, and that worked out. So yeah, try and think outside the box when it comes to boards that are pretty good for your range. So all right, I hope you guys enjoyed this quiz, and I will see you next time.
It's also a very good spot that works well in tournaments, not just cash games. Cash games, it's the opposite reason. Because in cash games, players get away from it because they're like, I was full of crap. I don't have anything. I don't have to continue. I don't have to fight for this pot. Hero calls are stupid. And they just fold. Tournaments are the exact opposite. It's, holy shit, this guy can have me totally board locked. I better give up, honestly, a hand that shouldn't, like she said, pocket nines. And pocket sevens is generally the same thing. If you had a hand like Queen 10 here, it would be kind of hard to continue too. But I think you'd see it, and then they would fall to the river jam, which is why you have to have that already in mind. Ace 10, I think, also is folding at the same frequency as Queen 10. I think Jacks plus is the only hand that you don't really see enough folds from in tournaments because players kind of get stuck to overpairs, especially at the low levels. But it's no reason to not make the proper move just because population makes a mistake. So, fun one, and I always like getting Lexi's opinion because it's a different way of looking at the game. And it's very valid, and this is a great move that I use already and didn't recognize it. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and host Spraggy. Spoiler if you saw the accidental host. And I'm going to be back later and probably be playing just because, it's Tuesday and it's a great day to play for me personally. I might not. I haven't really decided yet. It kind of depends on how I go. And, we'll see you guys later. So have a good day if I don't see you. If not, I'll be back here by noon tomorrow.